Now the 1-0 pitch, swinging a towering pop-up into the infield. As Drupal Cabrera jogging under it. Now moving back a bit. Still back, he drops it. Thames has scored. Another run is in. Over to third base on that play, incredibly, is Santana. It is a 4-4 game, and you could tell something was wrong there the way that as Drupal Cabrera was staggering around.
All right, so we'll segue from that to Matt Cerrone, SNY Mets blogger and author of the New York Mets Fans Bucket List that you can find in bookstores and on Amazon right now. Matt, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado, 104.5 The Team in Albany. Good morning.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for making me relive that. That was terrific.
I apologize for that, but when you saw that, Matt, what crossed your mind?
What crossed my mind was it's time to promote their shortstop prospect, Ahmed Rosario, who is one of the top prospects in baseball. It's ridiculous. This kid would upgrade their infield, and Cabrera clearly has issues with his legs. And, I mean, that was the first thing that went through my mind. It was like, oh, this is what they should be doing. Why are they not doing this? You know, it's been such a crazy season. Who knows?
Well, I was going to say, will they? I mean, that's 7 errors in 33 games. You're thinking that way. Kevin Kernan, who is a friend of ours and a guest of the program, New York Post, wrote a column this morning saying there's got to be a change there. They've got to do something. And Rosario was at the top of his list as well.
Of course. Do I think they'll do it? I think eventually they will. They're obviously, and they could deny this till the cows come home, but they're obviously hesitant for service time purposes, you know, to manage sort of his free agency years. And I think legitimately there is some concern about his personality. He's a very upbeat, bright, electric, big personality. I think they worry a little bit about bringing that into New York and just making sure that everything is sort of seamless. I don't think that's such a big concern. People I know out there that watch him, that coach him, that have played with him, I mean, nobody seems to have any concerns like that. So to me, that's just a cover for the contract service time stuff. So, I mean, eventually, I think he'll be here. It's just, and it should be sooner than later. It's just, I think if you're like myself, Kevin, who I respect a ton, and countless other fans and media, I think we all feel like it should have happened weeks ago, not from now.
We're talking Matt Cerrone, SNY Mets blogger and author of New York Mets Fans Bucket List, which we'll get into. My partner, Matt, says once you get by Memorial Day, we really kind of hone in on what these teams have and who they are going to be the rest of the way. I'll take his word on that. What do the Mets have here? I mean, you still think they can, I don't think, win the division. I think that ship has sailed, but hang in there. They've won 3 in a row, get the starting rotation back somewhere to where it might have been. And can they be a relevant team here and a playoff team here as we move forward?
Well, what they have going against them is they've dug a pretty deep hole here in the beginning part of the season. I think what they have going for them is that they've kind of kept themselves in survival mode, which they've done well the last couple seasons, frankly, and hopefully will get themselves through June into a decent position come midsummer where they can then do what they've done the previous 2 years, which is fight off injuries and adversity and have a really strong second half. And I think as long as, you know, they're still hovering around 500, even a little below, come mid-July or so, I think they'll be in that position. And you look around the National League and the other teams, and there's really no reason to think a 500 team can't get hot and then challenge that. The question for the Mets is less, I think, the playing field and more the roster. It's just been, you know, you ask what do they have? I mean, no one knows. They've lost their cleanup hitter, their ace, their 51-save closer, and their team captain to a certain extent. And, you know, whenever that happens, I don't care who you are, you're going to have a hard time. So we don't really know who this team is. And I think as Cespedes comes back, as Matt and Lugo come back, and it helps sort of solidify the rotation, they'll make a trade probably over the summer. They'll pick someone up on waivers to help the bullpen. I think as those things sort of happen and they get through all this, and then hopefully Syndergaard can return, you know, that changes the team. If they can have all those guys back in August and September like they have in previous seasons, I think they'll be in good shape, and I think they can contend. But if they don't get them back, I don't care what the playing field's like, it's going to be a struggle.
Hey, Matt, Chris Honorato here with Roger as well. And as a guy from northern New Jersey who grew up going to games at Shea Stadium, I've got some questions about the book, certainly, but I have to ask one that will annoy Roger. Injuries or not, if the Mets don't make the postseason this year, will Terry Collins survive at all?
It's a really good question, and the people I talked to there, and this goes back over the last couple of years, it's such a mixed sense you get. Like, they understand very much like fans look at it. He's not great with the bullpen. There are things he does on field that cost them at times, but at the same time, he has had to fight against these injuries. He's kept them and gotten to the playoffs a few times. And he's really good with the media, and he keeps these players sort of in line and motivates them and has really good alliances and things within the clubhouse. And so I think he sticks at least through the season no matter what happens. But to your question, if they don't make the playoffs, I think it's going to depend why. So, is it because of the injuries? Is it because, the roster's estimated? If that's the case and he wants to return, I think they'd consider it and have that conversation. If it's because they get their horses back, and they just, don't make it happen, and he stumbles and he loses the roster, loses the clubhouse a little, then I think they'd make a change. And where they go, I don't know. But I think it's going to have to do with sort of those two circumstances. And then also, does Terry Collins at his age want to keep going?
Yeah, right.
We're talking with Matt Cerrone. Matt, let's get to the book and give us a little idea of what is in the book and why Met fans should want to go out and purchase this. You can find it in bookstores and on Amazon right now. The title is The New York Mets Fans Bucket List. I'll let you take it from there.
Well, I set out to write it when the publisher approached me with it, and I turned down a few different book things over the years. I've been writing Mets blog for 13, 14 years now. And they have a fairly large audience and following, and so people would come to me with stuff, but it just never felt right. This clicked because it sort of felt like an extension of the blog in the sense that, it comes down to about 40 or so, 800, 1,000-word essays about the experiences of being a Mets fan. I mean, they organize it as this bucket list and all these things that Mets fans should experience before they die, but for me, it was sort of a way to capture the experience of Mets fans and the fun that we have and all the things that sort of go on in the culture and the history of being a Mets fan that isn't necessarily about wins and losses on the field and trade rumors and all these things that I write about on a daily basis. This was an opportunity to look back, maybe learn some stuff that I wasn't completely aware of and kind of dig in. And I hope that I relay that in the pages. I think it comes across just sort of all these different things that kind of the ups and the downs, the roller coaster, the fabric of being a Mets fan and all the things that go with it, I think get conveyed in the book, and I hope people really enjoy it for that.
I thought it was really cool. The foreword is written by David Wright, who, of course, to many Mets fans will forever be the face of this franchise, whether or not he even plays another baseball game. But, Matt, part of the book, too, I know includes how Mets fans not local to Queens can experience the bucket list, if you will. And I know you touched on it there briefly. It's about just the kind of life experiences of being a Mets fan.
Well, that to me is important. I grew up in southern Connecticut, but I'm 2 hours away from, at the time, Shea Stadium, now Citi Field. And, as you guys know, traffic in the Northeast, it might as well be 5 hours away sometimes. So, for me, being a Mets fan was always about living in Yankee land, watching on television, and trying to survive as a young fan in that environment. And then I moved down to D.C. where I was out of market as well. So that, a lot of my experiences are not tied to going to games with my dad and things that I think a lot of other fans maybe have. For me, it is very, like I mentioned before, that fabric, all those things that kind of come with being a fan, I think matter. They're maybe extra important to me. And so, yeah, I mean, I tried to tuck in a lot of those little things into the book, whether it's videos you watch or songs or historical little events and things that played out on television, played out on radio, Bob Murphy and all these different things that kind of go along with it. That's not just, hey, I was in the seats when this happened, or, my dad took me to the field and that. Like, there's all these other things that make up being a sports fan. But for Mets fans, because the on-field is so dramatic, I think the off-field tends to take on a life of its own.
Yeah, you're going to get some of those personal stories of Matt's in this book. It's really cool.
And it's available right now. You can find it in bookstores and on Amazon right now. Matt, appreciate a few minutes. I'm sure you enjoyed, and it sounds like Met fans did, and Terry Collins did, the performance of Tyler Pill last night. Pretty good.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I like that he was ahead in the count, but a lot of guys on base. I'd like to see what this kid can do with giving a shot in the bullpen. But I think he's going to get iced out when Max and Lugo come back, which is probably fine. I'll take those two any day.
Matt, keep up the great work. We appreciate a few minutes here on Big Board Sports on 104.5 The Team.
You got it, guys. Thanks.